What's up, nerds? I've got Luis Rivera joining me from Virginia. He's running for Congress. You may have remembered him because he made a Yang 2020 game. We'll talk a little bit about that, but a lot about why he's running for Congress now. But before we get started, Andrew will warm us up as normal.
Drew Yang gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew Yang gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew Yang gang, that's who I hooked up. Yo, there's no place to hide now that he's arrived. I'm saying he ain't playing now with this campaign. Bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with the Yang gang. Drew Yang gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew Yang gang, that's who I hooked up with. Drew Yang gang, that's who I hooked up. Yo, there's no place to hide now that he's arrived. I'm saying he ain't playing now with this campaign. Bang, dang, it's and Drew, come roll with the Yang gang.
Hello, nerds.
Hello, nerds.
Luis, good morning, good
Yes.
afternoon. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. It's the beginning of the weekend.
That's right.
Way than the talk a little politics on a Saturday.
Of course.
I know it's the afternoon over on the East.
Yeah, it's noon.
So well, let's start with your Yang kind of 2020 participation, because I think it was pretty interesting and entrepreneurial.
Yeah. So
but
and you're
yeah.
talking about the app, right? The mobile game app.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So in I think it was 2019 actually when I started it. I can't remember the exact date, but I created Andrew Yang Run, a mobile game on iPhone and Google Play Store. And my intention with the game was to create ad revenue and then donate that ad revenue to Andrew Yang's campaign. And like the goal was to get people who couldn't contribute like real money to participate in something, you know, like play games or whatever, and then use some of that money to give to Andrew Yang. So that was the idea behind it, like the intention.
Yeah. And why did you end up supporting Andrew in the first place?
I actually can't remember like the first time I heard of Andrew Yang. I think it might have been on the Joe Rogan podcast. I can't remember exactly where or what it was, but I know from as soon as I heard him, like a lot of the stuff he was saying just made sense. You know what I mean? It was like common sense stuff that, you know, I felt like were ideal. You know what I mean? And then I started learning about UBI, and I was like, at first I was like, there's no way. You know what I mean? Like this can't be real. And then after doing research and stuff, I really liked the idea, and I still like the idea, and I support UBI and whatnot. So just everything about Andrew Yang's campaign like gave me hope for the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how did you transition from campaign supporter to candidate? What was that transition like?
Yeah, so you know, after Andrew Yang dropped out of the presidential race, I was like, dang, I was pretty bummed out. Because you know, I mean, like I made the game, I was putting all my all my energy and effort, but I put a lot of effort to creating the game, trying to, you know, get him donations and stuff. And I was pretty bummed out, but I realized that, you know, real change starts on the local level, not on the, like he started a movement, you know what I mean? Just because he dropped out doesn't mean the movement ends, you know what I mean? It continues. So, you know, and I saw a lot of people were starting to run, and obviously at the time I wasn't old enough to run. So I was, you know, thinking it'd be cool to run one day or maybe help some other like local politicians who believe in the same idea. I even emailed my current representative about UBI multiple times. And, you know, he never responded back or whatever the case. He replied back asking for donations, but other than that, he never, you know what I mean? So I was like, you know, December, I was like, I might as well run. Like, you know, like I can be the change. I don't have to wait for someone else to run. You know what I mean? So I decided to run myself and be like, you know, I might as well be the change in my community.
Yeah, that is always interesting. The candidates who are pretty prolific about asking for donations. I mean, obviously it's not them typing away.
Yeah, for sure.
It's their team kind of doing these campaigns. But I'll often reply and say, hey, you know, I would be, you know, open to considering donating if you want to come on the podcast and you know, tell me more about yourself and help people understand where you're coming from. You know, that would help. And then, but of course, I rarely get a reply because I'm guessing it goes to some.
It's all probably automated, right?
Yeah. But tell me a little bit about your background, Luis. Like, how did you? What was your sort of upbringing like, and your early kind of experience in life that you think you'd bring to
Yeah.
Congress?
So I graduated in 2021 from Christopher Newport University. I got a degree in political science, and I have an associate's in business administration. Growing up, my parents have, obviously they're not wealthy or anything. They're normal Americans. You know, they go to work, whatever the case may be. When I was younger, my mom did get thyroid cancer. So from an early age, I saw how broken our healthcare system is. When I was younger, she got dropped from her health insurance companies, and then my parents had to put a lot of their savings into treatment. Luckily, she's still here today, but obviously, like removing a thyroid has like long-term implications on health and stuff like that. So we live here in Virginia, and she is covered by Medicaid, I believe. So I'm thankful for that. But when we lived in Florida when I was younger, there was like no help down there, and the fact that she got dropped from health insurance companies is terrible. But luckily, I'm here in Virginia. I've been here since 2014, I believe. I graduated high school from here. I went to college here, both community college and then university here. And throughout life, I've always been interested in business. That's what I got an associate's in. That's what I originally went to school for, and then ended up switching to political science. But like since I was 18, I started small businesses. So when I was 18, I tried a janitorial cleaning company, and it went okay. Like it was cool. It was a good like first business to try out. You know what I mean? I was only 18, 19 at the time. So at that point, I was excited for it, all about it, and then I wanted originally to clean like offices or whatever the case may be, and then and ended up to being like cleaning houses, like, and I made like I would say good money from it, but I didn't like it, you know what I mean? And it wasn't something that I wanted to keep long term. So I decided to do other things. And as the most recent last year, I started a couple e-commerce businesses, and that's, I would say, gave me good experience in marketing, since I needed to learn Facebook, ads and just great technical skills, aside from going to college. And I was doing all that while going to school. So like the idea was to try as many things as I can while I'm in school, so after school I can really focus on one thing. Does that make sense? So I tried different things, and I learned different technical skills. I'm pretty tech savvy for the most part. I'm grateful for the education I got. I'm grateful for my parents, for everybody who's helped me up until this point. But that's like a basic rundown of where I am right now.
Yeah. I always find that, at least in my experience starting businesses, you learn so much from the challenges and the things that didn't go as planned. And, of course, sometimes the things that do go as planned. Tell me about some of the things you learned starting those businesses that you think you'd bring to Congress.
Well, starting a business is a lot harder than it looks. I learned that real quick. Obviously, it takes determination and the will to continue. So ever since like the first business, I learned what works, and then I learned what not works or what doesn't work, and then you apply what works to the next business, right? And then you continue, and then you see what doesn't work, and from there, if you want to continue something else, obviously you can take what you learn and apply it elsewhere. But I think the biggest thing, though, in any business, if anybody ever wants to start a business, is the will to go on and be determined in whatever it is that you're doing, and not giving up easily, because there's going to be obstacles in anything you try to do, whether it's running for office, whether it's starting a business, even in your everyday life. You're going to have obstacles in school. As long as you learn from that and continue, that's the most important thing. And that's what I believe in. You know what I mean? So I think all these challenges, at the end of the day, it's a lesson. Like, it's everything you do in life. It's a learning lesson. So as long as you're willing to learn from it and go on, I think most people will be okay in whatever they try to do. You know what I mean? Not just business, but everyday life.
Do you think that starting a political campaign is a little bit like any similarities with starting a business and, marketing yourself and getting customers?
I hate to compare like politics to business, obviously for, obvious reasons. But at the end of the day, I would say campaigning, it's literally like running a business. And, in a sense, instead of profits, you could say it's donations or whatever, instead of like money coming in. And then, the outcome would be getting enough voters. So I guess the voters would be like the customers. If you wanted to compare that way, obviously it's not and it shouldn't be, because it's two different things. But it's very similar in the way that you need to market yourself. So instead of marketing a business, you're marketing yourself and your campaign. You need to network. So networking is always important in business. So it's the same thing in politics. Like if you're not networking and you're not meeting with people, connecting with individuals, you're not going to grow. And that's like, obvious facts. And it's the same thing in business. If you're not connecting with the right people, your business might not grow as much as if you were to network with the right people in the right place at the right time. So it's very similar, but obviously it's different. At the end of the day, politics shouldn't be about making yourself money. It should be about creating change. As a business, you can create change in your community, but you're also in it for yourself and profits. Does that make sense? That's how I view it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the main difference is the fact that you're not in politics. You shouldn't be working for yourself. At least that's what the hope is. You know what I mean? There are politicians who, at the end of the day, are in it for themselves, unfortunately. But for the most part, a business is for yourself while a campaign is more for the people. And I'm not saying businesses can't, like make positive impacts in their communities. A lot of them do, but I would say that's like the main difference between a business and a campaign.
What's your district like? Those are your prospective customers, if you will.
Yeah.
Tell me about what they care about. What's top of mind for them?
Yeah. Biggest thing in my community and what I get from talking to people is number one right now, the economy. I mean, inflation, gas prices going up. That's like the number one thing people talk about. And I think a lot of people are upset at the current, scenario we're in, or situation where prices are going up, but wages are staying the same. And, luckily here in Virginia, our minimum wage is at $11 an hour. Are you, you're in
California?
California, that's right. And I would assume, what's the minimum wage over there?
I don't know. Let me look it up.
Yeah,
California.
No worries.
Minimum wage. Let's see. 14.
Okay, cool.
So it's currently 13, and they're proposing to go. Oh, it just went to 14 this year. Yeah.
Okay, so here in Virginia, it went to $9 last year for the first time. It was $7.25, and then they have it so every year it goes up $1. So we're at $11 right now. Next year I'll be at $12 until it reaches $15 an hour, which in a sense it's helpful.
Yeah,
and I would say it's good. Obviously, like certain people have their own opinions on it. I know some small business owners have their opinions on it. Me as a business owner, a lot of the work right now for like my businesses, it's all automated, so I don't really have to hire any employees for that. So it doesn't hurt me as much, I would say. But prices are going up, like at the end of the day, you know what I mean? And a lot of wages aren't going up. So if you're making above 15, your wages aren't going up, prices are still going up. So at that point, a lot of people are upset. And then education is another big thing here in our district. Certain schools are better than others. I'm just going to say that. I mean, obviously, the area plays a role in that. And we have a lot of, poor neighborhoods where I live. It's a very diverse, it's 4 different cities, and they all have their own specific problems and diversity within them. So education is another big thing, and funding for teachers in schools.
What would you like to see change about education? If you,
I would say like proper funding and a lot more fair. You know what I mean? So instead of certain schools getting more resources than others, which should, I'm not saying it should be the exact same for every school, but we should increase funding regardless for every school. You know what I mean? And there's ways to go about it. I think the federal government should do a lot more for education. We have universities here, a few. We have big universities in my district. We have Christopher Newport, Hampton Roads University. We have ODU, which is Old Dominion University. I don't know if you've heard of these schools. They're all big schools, and a lot of them, they're pretty expensive, I would say. When I was in Florida, and from what I heard, universities in Florida are a lot cheaper than in Virginia. Like in-state tuition in Florida is cheaper than in-state tuition here in Virginia. So not only from like, elementary school, high school, but even colleges here are pretty expensive. So I would say trying to lower costs and making school more efficient. I think that should be the goal of anybody in politics or any of our leaders right now. And I'm not sure if there's a disconnect between what's going on in our communities and what's going on either in DC or even local school boards. But, it's not, our education isn't the greatest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And in terms, you mentioned a lot of universities. If you had to focus those finite dollars, where would you want to see the increases go? Is it early childhood education or elementary school or
Yeah, that for
university?
sure. That's very important, especially. I would hate to say that schools are meant to take care of children because they're not. That's not the purpose of school. But early childhood education helps certain parents maybe like start working earlier, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to like colleges and stuff, making it more affordable. I'm even for student forgiveness. I mean, at the end of the day, like it's ridiculous how much we paid for education, and in some cases, in my case, obviously, I guess political science that I'm running, it helps me. But in some
Mm-hmm.
cases, certain people don't even use their degrees. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like they spend all this money and then do something completely different. I have a buddy. I don't know about in California, but we have the shipyard here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the biggest jobs right here in our district, and they're in charge of making submarines and ships for the Navy.
Mm.
And I have a buddy, and I have a lot of family members actually who work for the shipyard here. But he went to school, he majored in something, and now he's at the shipyard, which requires no education. He gets paid decent, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of times we spend all this money on education and aren't even able to use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of federal funding for education, do you think it should apply to any topic that the person wants to study? Like if I want to study
Mm.
philosophy and it
Yeah, yeah.
costs, society $500,000 for me to get a 4-year degree in it, like is
Yeah,
that
well,
really the best
I would
use
hope it
of
doesn't cost that much, right? That's quite a lot. I don't know if that's how it is in California, but at the end of the day, like the purpose of college, and I hear a lot of people saying like college is a waste, this and that. I guess at the end of the day, the purpose of going to school is to learn critical thinking skills. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
you have your general ed, which is usually the first 2 years, and most of the time that doesn't really have to do with your main core degree, which is
Mhm.
another issue within itself. You know what I mean? You're wasting all this money on classes that aren't directly, whatever you're studying. But at the same time, the purpose of school should be to teach you critical thinking skills. You know what I mean? And I think just having a educated population is always beneficial, even if it's philosophy. At the end of the day, there's something I've taken a couple philosophy classes like ethics and whatnot, and I
Mhm.
would say it's been pretty helpful. I wouldn't say it's like I didn't love it or anything, but it wasn't like I wouldn't say it was a waste of time. I learned from it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't say that it's applicable, but you learn from ethics classes. I took business ethics, which is I guess a form of philosophy. So in a sense, it's meant to get your critical thinking skills up, and in a sense, that's always helpful. Any type of educated population is always going to be better than a non-educated population. I'm not saying everyone should go to school. Obviously, like people should go to trade school, or if you don't want to go to school at all, you don't have to go to school at all. And that's another issue too. It's like a lot of the opportunities in the future are going to be given to those, especially with automation. If you're not educated or you don't have some type of skill, once like automation comes and they get rid of a lot of these low income jobs, it's like, what do you do then? You know what I mean? You don't really have like an option. So it's,
Mhm.
especially with education, number one, a lot of STEM programs I think we should be having in schools from an early age. So like science, mathematics, computer technology. That should be taught in schools from an early age, and then at some point we should give people the option to do whatever they want to do. But that's one way to hopefully help fix our future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how you differentiate yourself from other people running for this seat. I'm guessing there's other candidates in the field, and
Well, so
why
right
should
now
yeah.
the current representative for my district, his name is Bobby Scott.
Uh-huh.
He's been in office for 27 years. In 9 out of the 14 elections, he ran unopposed in the general. And this is the first time in 27 years that he's had a primary challenger, which is me. Last time I checked, let me see. Last time I checked, there was another individual, but I don't know if he's actually running. He
Mm.
doesn't have a website. He doesn't have anything up public. I just saw it on Ballotpedia. But as far as
Mhm.
I know, it's just me and Bobby Scott, right?
Mm.
Last time I checked, let me check real quick though.
27 years is a long time.
It is a lot. He's 74 right now, and I don't have anything against age, but at some point, you really have to ask yourself, like, you know what I mean? Like, is it time to
Yeah.
maybe do something else, retire, whatever the case may be?
Yeah, or
He's gonna
bring
have
in some
benefits.
fresh ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's always good. And that's why I'm for term limits, because you don't want to have someone 27 years. Like what worked 27 years ago might not work today. Like modern problems require modern solutions.
Yeah.
And I would hope that, you know, if I make it to office, I'm not going to be in office for 27 years. I don't want to be in office for 27 years. I would hope someone younger with better, brighter ideas comes along and, you know, keeps moving America forward. Because at the end of the day, it's all about progress. And at the end of the day, I don't want to speak negatively about Mr. Scott because I voted for him and I know I have respect for the man and I don't have anything against him. But, you know, he's 74. He's been in office for 27 years. He's never had a primary challenger. I mean,
yeah, that's crazy.
And 9 out of the 14, not even a Republican wanted to challenge him. And obviously, our district is primarily Democrat, so there's no way any Republican would win, and that's given. But at the same time, it's like, who's holding him accountable? Does that make sense? Like, nobody's standing up to him. He's just sometimes he doesn't even have to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, there's no one challenging him at all. Like, he doesn't have to waste campaign funds. He doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, and the fact that it's not even easy to communicate with him. You know what I mean? The fact that, like, I can't even talk to him and say, hey, like, you want to listen to your constituents? It's like a lot of people, you know, and it becomes to a point where people just see the D next to his name and they vote for him. And, you know, no fault of their own. We're just a Democratic district. Like, Democrats are always going to win. But the fact that no one wants to challenge him whatsoever. And, you know, I don't know the reasons for it. There might be various reasons. Maybe nobody really wants to try or there could be many things, but you know, he's not inspiring anybody. He's not promoting new ideas. It's kind of like the same, you know, status quo, like a corporate Democrat. He's been in office for 27 years. He'll continue to run. I would assume he'll continue to run. You know, I don't see why he wouldn't.
So how do you get your name out there? I mean, if he's been in this district, representing this district for almost 3 decades.
Yeah.
They all know his name. They've been voting for him for a long time.
Yes. That's correct.
They don't know who Luis Rivera is.
Yeah. So one of the ways, obviously, is by literally talking directly to voters. The unfortunate, you know, situation in my district, some people don't even know who our current representative is. You know what I mean? And I'm, you know, there's a lot of reasons for it, obviously, whether it's, you know, maybe they're uninterested in politics, which is probably the biggest reason, I would say. Maybe he hasn't made a strong enough will, or he hasn't tried strong enough to talk to these people. But you know, a lot of people don't know who he is, and you know, I would bank that most of the voters who voted for him because they just see him in the general. There's never been a Democrat primary in 27 years for the seat. Yeah, so the fact that no one's ever voted in a primary, you know what I mean? So I'm hoping that if we can convince enough people to show up in the primary, which is June 21st, that we can get enough support. And I think the key is to spread my message to as many people as I can and inform them that there's going to be an election on June 21st. And by informing them, I hope that they do their research and see, hey, like, what does, you know, Luis have to offer and what does Bobby Scott have to offer? And let's compare who has newer ideas, who has the best interest, and, you know, leave it up to the voters to decide. But I think one of the biggest things is to get the word out that there is going to be a primary. This is the first time there's going to be a primary in 27 years for the Democrats, but there's going to be one, you know, and I think it's important to let people know, hey, like, and, you know, right now gathering signatures is a great way to, I guess, canvass, because I'm telling people to vote and then getting their signatures. Eventually, obviously, after I'm on the ballot, I'll be able to, you know, like, do an even bigger push in marketing and get people to. I'm completely wasting all my energy on June 21st. You know what I mean? Like, nothing else after that matters. Like, right now, it's June 21st. Show up and vote. And here's what I have to offer. Here's what he has to offer. And it's up to you, like, the voters, to decide what do you want on June 21st.
Now, in California, because so many of our districts are heavily Democratic, we actually have a process where in the general election, you can have actually 2 Democrats on the ballot. Is that the way you do it in Virginia, or is it like just one for each party? Whoever
wins the primary is the nominee, and then that nominee goes up against the Republican nominee, and then it would be the Democrat versus Republican. So right now, like I said, I see on Ballotpedia, it's just me and a gentleman named James Taylor. I don't know who James Taylor is. It doesn't look like he is actively campaigning. But right now, I would say it's just me versus Mr. Scott. And it's whoever wins the primary will most likely win the general, and that's why I'm putting all my energy on to the primary, because at the end of the day, it's a long shot, but there's still a great chance that I could get enough people to show up, and that's what I'm counting on. It's like, you know what I mean? And it sounds crazy, and his donations too. If you look at his donations, he only has $246,000 on hand. And that might sound like a lot, but if you compare it to the national average, which is what, like 2 mil, like he's way below what candidates should have in donations. And a lot of his money does come from like lobbyists and other political action committees and corporations and whatnot. So, he has that going for him. But at the same time, it's like, as he needs to, tell people, hey, also go vote. And obviously he has the money for that. But do you think he wants to waste his money on that? Like, maybe he's not going to take me seriously. I don't know. I hope he takes it serious. I hope he can adopt some of the things that I'm running on, like term limits. That would be great. You know what I mean? Although I don't know if he would, but that would be awesome. If
he's the example of the opposite of term limits if he's been there that long, right? Yeah. But you never know. I mean, if they don't have primaries that often, or I haven't had one in a long time, and you got enough people that were willing to go out there and participate, it might be very low turnout, but you might still win almost because of that.
And that's what I'm kind of and that's what I'm kind of banking on right now. Just the fact, like you said, it hasn't been a primary in a long time, so most people know, oh, I'm gonna vote in November 11th or whenever the general is. Yeah, I'll vote in November, no big deal. But a lot of people don't know about primaries, and the fact that once I get on the ballot, there is going to be a primary. There has to be a primary because I'll be on it, and I would assume he's on it too, assuming he got the signatures or whatever the case is. But once we're both on it, there will be a primary. So he's gonna have to do a job in getting people to vote, and I'm gonna have to do good enough job to get people to vote. And that's what it comes down to. Like, can you motivate people to show up on June? Like, when can you inconvenience them for a day? To show up and vote.
When do you need to get on the ballot? When do you need to submit all your paperwork and signatures?
It's April 7th, but let me just look it up real quick.
And you feel pretty good about getting enough signatures? I've heard from other candidates that you actually have to get way more because sometimes the other campaign will challenge all the signatures. And
So right now it's 1,000 in Virginia. I don't know how much it is for other states, but they recommend you get 1,500. Just like you said, just in case either some of the people are not registered or they don't actually live in the district or whatever. So I'm trying to get 1,500, if not more. Like, that's the goal. And I have until April 7th, I believe. But let me just check.
And you have to, you do that physically, like you stand outside the Walmart or something? Or
I go, that's a good way to do it too. But right now we're doing door knocking. And I think that's not more efficient, but it's a good way to really connect with people. Because when they go to Walmart, it's like, do you really want to be stopped? Not a lot of people. And obviously, if they don't want to sign, they won't open the door. And you do get a couple people who are rude. But it's no big deal. I mean, I'm not trying to convince anybody. And I let them know straight up, like, hey, like, by you signing doesn't mean you're going to vote for me. Here's the flyer. Here's my information. Like, it just means I'll be on the ballot. And, a lot of people are happy that other people are running. You know what I mean?
Good for you. I've got a question from Vaughn in the audience, who's a channel member as well. He's have you ever had any comms with the Forward Party? Have you thought about that or talked to any?
So right now I had an interview for an endorsement with them. I talked to Blair the other day. Everything went good, so I would assume, and I'm hoping for an endorsement. But I had an interview with Blair. I submitted the questionnaire, so I took all the steps, and I'm just waiting for them to tell me if I'll be endorsed or not. So right now we're just waiting. But I did talk to him, and I did apply for an endorsement, and hopefully an endorsement from Andrew Yang too, which would be great.
When did they tell you, like, when you'd hear back, or is it like a job?
She I would hope soon. She didn't give me a specific day, but they said they'll let me know and whatever, and they'll offer resources too, which is great. She talked about like huge, volunteers and even hosting events or whatever with the Forward Party. So that would definitely be amazing. It'd be like a blessing, being endorsed by, I would say, a big national organization, political organization, just for the fact that it gives me even more credibility. You know what I mean? It's not just some kid running. It's like, this guy's actually serious, so I'm hoping I get the endorsement. I don't see why I wouldn't right now. So But right now, I'm just focusing on getting the signatures to be on the ballot. And once I'm on the ballot, it's straight up marketing from there and really connecting with people.
I love the scrappiness, and it would be a really cool story if this guy came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it really is. Just, I mean, like I said, I don't come from a rich family. I don't have any political connections. It's just straight up talking to people and voters. And at the end of the day, that's all you have to do. And anybody watching this, if you ever want to run, just do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you right now from running. You know, like, I'm young. Right now, I'm 24. I'll be 25 by the general election. But I mean, nobody ever thought a 24, 25-year-old could run, right? But I did. I mean, like, why not? Like, there's nothing stopping you. And the cool thing is, most people, no one's ever said anything about my age at all. Like, most of the people I talk to, they don't ask me how old I am. They don't say, "Oh, you look kind of young." Maybe it's the facial hair, right?
The beard, man.
Well, the beard maybe looks a little older. I don't know, but no one's ever said anything like, "Oh, you're too young to run." Like, you barely just graduated. Like, everyone that I talked to are like, "Okay, cool, yeah, I'll sign." Like, "Oh, awesome! Like, I'll vote for you." You know? Like,
that's great.
People, I don't have to, and I never say anything about my age. I guess from like a marketing perspective, it would be cool, like a 24-year-old versus a 74-year-old. Like David versus Goliath type deal. So I guess from that point, it would be cool. But I don't really mention my age that much. It would be historic, though, technically. I was born in 97, and that counts as, I guess, a Gen Z because it's 97 and up. So I'll be like the first Gen Z to win a congressional seat if I were to win.
Well, that would be cool. I mean, I think you're right that you don't need to talk about it directly because I think it'll be pretty clear that you're significantly younger than the incumbent. Is there any talk about having like a primary debate or something, or
that would be cool. I would be down for that. I obviously, there hasn't, like, so our district, there hasn't even been any talks about anything regarding this race, and which kind of sucks. I know I've been, I've reached out to certain people, and certain people I've reached out back in the community, but like, there hasn't been talks about, like, none of the local news stations have covered anything about this race. I know the district right next to us, they covered that she was running up for re-election. Elaine Luria, she's in District 2, I believe. And her seat is a lot more competitive. So I think, like, they give attention to, like, the big races. And I guess this isn't considered big. For the most part, like I said, people don't even challenge him in the general most of the time. Like, I don't know if it's just a lack of interest in politics. So I would like a debate. I'm just waiting to get on the ballot first before I initiate any type of anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's the goal right now, is just get on the ballot. And once I'm on the ballot, obviously try to debate them. Try to, hopefully people take me a lot more serious once I'm on the ballot. Especially if I'm endorsed by the Forward Party. That'd be even more reason for them to give me credibility.
Yeah, I would imagine if you're on the ballot, it's almost hard for the other. It'll be harder for the incumbent not to agree to a debate. But I've heard that they rarely do because they feel like there's no upside for them.
Yeah. I've been following Erica Rhodes' campaign, and last time I checked, I guess the incumbent did not want to debate her.
Yeah.
I guess in a sense, and I understand why they wouldn't want to. It just gives you more credibility. Like, why would you give credibility to someone running against you? From that point, I understand. But at the same time, it's like, how are people supposed to know what your ideas are and, like, compare if you don't have a proper, at least some type of, like, town hall together? You know what I mean? Like, where they ask you questions each and you answer. It doesn't even have to be a full-on debate. But
totally, just a discussion.
I would assume he doesn't want to give it, like, Mr. Scott wouldn't want to give me credibility, at least not right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you were his advisor, you'd be like, well, the only thing that will happen, like, if you do good, you're already in the lead. If you don't do good, you've just given this guy an opening.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's a, you mentioned that that district in LA with Erica and the incumbent, and then there's this guy Shervin Azami. What's interesting is I actually try to facilitate a panel discussion with all three, but only one agreed, which was Shervin Azami. So
really?
It's kind of like, I think every campaign does the calculation, and nobody wants to be in the same.
And then you said all three are in the same district?
Yeah.
That's
And
interesting, right?
only one agreed, which was
Yeah,
Sherman,
yeah,
who
yeah.
is the lowest, right?
Yeah.
He probably has the least support. And I don't know that I can blame the other campaigns for saying no, because they probably did that calculation. But at some point, voters need to demand it.
Yeah.
I think
It's
voters
almost
need to say,
hypocritical too, kind of, right? That you
yeah,
want to demand another campaign to have a debate against you, but you wouldn't want to debate someone
yeah,
else. And at the end of the day, like you said, like voters need to know everybody on the ticket, even if they have barely any support. Like
yeah.
you want to know what your options are.
I agree. And maybe they're concerned that, oh, well, would it be a fair hearing? Because I've had Shervin on this show before, but I've also had Erica multiple,
Mm-hmm.
like 2 times on this show.
Yeah.
But like my view is like they don't need to come on Nerds for Humanity. They go on, just call your local paper. I'm sure they'd be happy to
Yeah.
host a live stream,
Yeah.
and get all of them, with equal time, and just have a conversation.
And I know her
Yeah.
district has like what 5, 6 Democrats running. So it'd be cool to get
Yeah,
all of them on stage, right? And be
totally.
like, hey, like what are because they have options now. 5, 6 people,
Yeah,
that's different ideas, different beliefs. Like,
yeah. So
yeah.
because even within the Democratic Party, I think there is a good diversity of perspectives, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody brings a different experience and different priorities. So yeah, that's the thing I would love to see more is like the pre-primary debates. It's sort of like, let everybody who's running, like, who's meeting a threshold, have an opportunity to make their case, and then give
Yeah.
voters, the option to kind of compare them, because otherwise it's all name recognition and,
Mm-hmm.
marketing, all that kind of
And at
stuff.
that point, it becomes whoever has the most money, right, to market. It's
Yeah.
not really about the ideas at that point. It's about, oh, I have more money, I can get my name out there more,
Yeah.
which isn't always ideal.
I almost feel like there should be some nonprofit or PAC that says, look, we demand that anyone running for office make themselves available for at least 4 hours um, of media access, where they are in an interview with the other members, the other candidates that are running.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't agree to that, then you will be labeled as a unavailable, inaccessible
Yeah.
candidate.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that
It's like to
candidates
hold them
will.
accountable, right? It would be like a
Yeah,
good way. Yeah.
yeah. It's sort of like minimum access when you're running. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
really are running, like you got to put yourself out there, and that also means you got to put yourself out there and be on the same platform, the same stage with people who are less popular than you.
No, I agree on
You know,
100%.
So,
Yeah, and
but who
even in
knows? Who
my,
knows? Maybe if you
yeah,
get elected a few terms, you'll be like, nah, I don't want to.
yeah, and listen, hopefully, if I do get elected, we can do this interview again after I'm
Yeah.
elected, and we'll see how much I change in the
That's right.
process. I
Your
hope
people will be
not,
like, sorry, Congressman Rivera is not available.
Yeah, no, that's like, let's hope not. That's hopefully we never get there.
All right, I'll
And if
send them.
I
I'll send
do,
the
like, you
link to
better hold
this
me
video.
accountable.
Yeah, I'll say, hey, remember,
Yeah.
you said we talked about this, bro.
Someone used some type of marketing, right? And like use it against me at this point.
Yeah. So tell me, before we wrap up, it's been a great opportunity to get to know you, Luis, and
And I
I
appreciate
love
it.
it's an all American story. Like, here's a guy who did not start with with a silver spoon in his mouth, and started some businesses. And first business was, I love reading your bio that the first business was a janitorial business. I was like, that, talk about rolling up your sleeves, man.
Went
right?
from cleaning toilets to potentially in DC, right?
Yeah, that would be great. From janitor to congressperson.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
So I'll be watching with great interest. And how can people who are kind of intrigued learn more about you and support you?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, luisforcongress.com. They can also check my social media pages. Right now I'm active on Twitter, which my Twitter handle is Sorry, I should know
Luis,
it.
the
Luis
number
R for
4.
Congress.
Yeah,
And this is number 4. So it's Luis R number 4 Congress. That's like, and then people can message me directly too if they have questions. I'm always willing to talk to people, like, and if they want to interview me for whatever, like, it's all about just communicating with people, talking to people. I enjoy it. I don't have a problem with it. They can message me literally about anything. If they just want my opinion on something, if they want to know more about me, it's cool. My DMs are open. So
very nice. Let me add that. So it's luisforcongress.com,
yes.
and then Luis R for Congress on
Yes.
Twitter. And then you are also listed on my nonprofit of the people.
Yes.
And so people can approval vote you there, so you can move up on the trending list. That'll be another way that people can
That'd be
discover
great.
you. Yeah. So hopefully people will check you out and get to know you more. And then if they wanted to, what are you looking for? Are you looking for volunteers and donors as well?
I mean, every donation is appreciated. Obviously, like, I understand, especially nowadays, that a lot of people can't donate, but donations are appreciated. And yeah, volunteers. If anybody's in Virginia or is close to Virginia and wants to volunteer, literally, if anybody wants to volunteer, there's always text banking and calling. I would also appreciate that. So if people want to give their time, which again is much appreciated, I know people are busy and whatever. So any type of help is good for me. So. And if they want to learn how to volunteer, they can either go on my website or they can contact me directly.
The good news is if you get enough signatures and you get on the ballot, like, that's something that people watching this, like, they have control over. Like, if they're volunteering and they're text banking or phone banking or they're canvassing and they help you get to those 1,500 signatures, like, you will be on the ballot, unless something crazy happens, right? And that right there, in and of itself, even if you don't beat the incumbent, introduces more competition and keeps people on their toes more. I mean, frankly, that's why I started Of the People. It's not because I think everybody on there is going to win, but it's like, well, let's just create more competition. We might get lucky and discover, some dark horse candidates that surprise everybody.
And it's crazy. I've been real quick. I've been following you since your name was, what is it, Nerds for Yang or Nerds for Yang? I've been following you for a while. I don't know if you knew that. I've been subscribed to your channel for a long time. So it's cool to see back in I think it was like 2020 when I subscribed or whatever.
Yeah.
And then seeing now that I'm on here, that's kind of cool.
That is that's so awesome. Yeah, you went from, I mean, that's to Yang's credit. I think he inspired a lot of people to say, like, why shouldn't I get more in the game, and I think that's perhaps one of the biggest things that he did. So well, kudos to you, Luis, for throwing your hat in the ring and put yourself out there. Fingers crossed that you get a good call from the Forward Party at some point.
That would be great.
And hopefully we'll have you back on the show again.
Hopefully, like, shoot me a DM and I'd be down. Hopefully after I get on the ballot too, so people are like, wow, he's serious. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah.
So once I'm on the ballot, it's like from that point on, it's like, it's all game. Like,
I love
straight up getting voters, talking to people, getting as many people to show up.
Sounds great, Luis. With that, we'll say goodbye, nerds.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you gotta say goodbye, nerds.
Oh, goodbye, nerds. There we go.
Luis.
Sorry about that.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, Luis Rivera for Congress. You can learn more about him on ofthepeople.us and approval vote him so he gets a little bit more exposure on our trending list. Before I wrap up, I do want to give some shout outs to our channel members. So let me just pull that up and start with our biggest, most supportive member, which is none other than Soldier One. So Soldier One is a senior vice president. And if you want to get at these shout outs and just support this content, you can just click on the join link and it'll let you be a member. You could start at $1.99 a month or something. So it's not a big investment. Less than a cup of coffee. So Soldier One, SVP. And then at our vice president level, oh, by the way, I do have a executive vice president level. I don't think, yeah, we don't have anybody at that level. But if you did that, you'd get I'd ring some cowbells and all kinds of fun stuff to celebrate that. But Soldier One is our best member right now. Thank you, Soldier One. At the VP level, we have Kristen Slevin, Bike, and Stephen Jones. So thank you very much, Kristen, Bike, and Stephen Jones. Hardcore. We've got Gene, David, DK, Jackalego, Kirsch, Mr. History, Byram, Mona, Susan, Vaughn, who was in the live stream just moments ago, Yang, Tony, Robert, Dean, Stat Nerd, Galessa, Jay Perrin, AH, Jay Bryan, Vivian, Dana, Jason, and Parth. And then at the entry level, in order of time as member, we have Lisa, Albert, Brandon, Peter, Arez, your mom, and Sophia, Mike, Jedwiga, Doris, Emerald, Lori, Ben, Roger, Rasta, Elizabeth, James, Emma, Hui, Ira, Patrick, Shoni, Jameson, Dr. William, Karen, Monica, Ardent, Zemery, Mai, David, Brittany, Alexandra, Juana, Warren, Lucky, Kevin, Emily, Finney, and H3. And who is our oldest member overall? Lisa Childress, Jean Lim, and Kristen Slevin. Over 2 years of support of this channel. And our youngest members are Stephen Jones, Finney Helps, and H3 Simp. So the other thing I'll do is give a shout out to the trending candidates on Of the People. These are trending by number of approval votes on ofthepeople.us, and OTP is free, open platform. Any candidate can list themselves, and you can just click on, I'll show you. If you say like, oh, I like Luis. If you get to Luis, where is he? You can, there he is. You can scroll and look for him. You can Control F or Command F and search for him. Or, fun thing, you can filter by tag. And you can say, I think Luis is pro UBI, and see if he's on this list. And there he is. And you can say, oh, I remember him from the podcast. And if you want, you click on this approve button. And then depending on how many approval votes he's gotten, he then gets listed either on our popular feed, which is the default, which is the most recent approval votes, number of most recent approval votes. Right now, that's Dan Whitfield, Jermaine Johnson, Catherine Fleming Bruce, Larry Sharp, and David Kim. And then in terms of our all-time candidates with the most approval votes, in this case, we'll say for UBI, you've got Christy Seelock, Ali Dalzimer, Austin Zerl, Shervin Azami, Dan Whitfield, Josh Vale, David Kim, Erica Smith, Jesse Phillip, Dr. Ryan Stark. And then if you want to see who's the newest people to list, regardless of any tag, Larry Sharp, Jim Wallace, Gary Voter, and Neil Smith are the newest ones. So a lot of fun candidates to get to know on Of the People. Free platform. And it will help, hopefully, some candidates get a few more followers, because once you go to Of the People and you can see like, oh, this guy, Dan Whitfield, you can then have a link to his website, his Twitter account. You can see an embedded YouTube video, and you can see his recent tweets. And soon, we're working on this right now. We're going to enable the ability for supporters or potential supporters to ask these candidates questions in a Ask Me Anything module within the OTP profile. So while I'm talking about OTP, why don't I also thank some of the Of the People donors who make that possible, because OTP is all volunteer, and we get our Patreon supporters to help us pay for the hosting costs and everything like that. Oh no, I've got to sign in. Am I going to remember my password? Let's see. Try it. That one. Yes. Second try. Gotta love that. Okay. So who are the Patreon supporters of OTP? And you can become a Patreon supporter by just going to ofthepeople.us, and then I think there's a support link on the top right corner somewhere. But who are our biggest supporters that made ofthepeople.us possible? In order of contribution: Eric Sanchez, Tohir, Elizabeth Owen, Tony, Rockout, Iggy, Aaron, Byram, Sugar, John Perino, Rob, Timothy Jordan, Jessica, Ganoan, The Trickle Up, Gene Lim, Muhan Jang, Travis Klein, Austin Bagan, Mai Zamaris, and Dylan Shell. So thank you so much for supporting Of the People. All right. With that, I think I'm going to jump because I've got another call that I got to go to. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the conversation with Luis. Stay safe out there. And let's hope that this conflict in Ukraine ends peacefully as soon as possible. I can't imagine what it's like living in Kyiv right now. But hats off to the brave Ukrainians who are trying to defend themselves from a hostile invasion. All right. See you later, nerds. Peace.